hospital, and we have problems getting people in.
Now, what did you tell me? You're urging people to donate blood. That's very important right now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, we're told that we're not. Thank you very much. All right, we'll keep you live. We'll keep you posted here at St. Vincent's Hospital. We're going to have hundreds of people expected here. And doctors say right now there are about 50 to 100 in critical condition here at St. Vincent's. Reporting live, Whitney Casey.
Whitney, you're telling us now the doctors are saying there are about 50 to 100 people who are in critical condition at St. Vincent's right now.
Yes, that's right. I hear, we just heard from a doctor, it's unconfirmed from anyone at St. Vincent's, but the doctor did just tell me that right now they have 50 to 100 in critical condition, but they're really worried about the smoke inhalation. They said that thousands of people they expect to be affected by this smoke inhalation in and around the World Trade Center because of that second building falling in.
All right, Whitney, thanks very much. The problem's not just here in New York, as we've been reporting to you all morning long, and now word from the State Department, as it had already been evacuated because of what had happened here in New York City, that there's a possible explosion there as well. So quickly to recap the chronology as you look live at the scene of the one remaining tower, the World Trade Center. We had a plane crash from a plane hijacked out of Boston just before 9 o'clock. It hit Tower 1 of the World Trade Center. Then a second crash 18 minutes later. What we have heard from the Associated Press was a plane out of Newark. Then a third crash at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. and a fire at the Washington Mall. And now a fifth word that there was an explosion at Capitol Hill, which had since been evacuated. And now the sixth incident right now. The State Department apparently had been evacuated as all this was going on, only to find out that there's been a possible explosion there as well.
And Michael, I've been told by our guest here, Michael Hirschman, who's the president of an international security and counterterrorism firm, that there's an unidentified aircraft approaching an airport in Northern Virginia, possibly Dulles or Washington National Airport. Authorities there are scrambling to find out about that aircraft. An unidentified aircraft circling and approaching an airport in Northern Virginia. We're not sure which airport that is. You have Dulles there, you have Reagan International, and George, actually those are the two airports there, scrambling to find out the nature of that aircraft. Can you tell us any more, Mr. Hirschman?
Only that's an unidentified aircraft approaching Northern Virginia.
Okay. What is it that that security can do at this point as they monitor that flight?
Well, my information, and of course all of this is unconfirmed. You can imagine the state of confusion right now. But my information is that they're scrambling jet fighters out of local military aircraft.
Michael, we'll come back to you in just a couple of moments. I hate to interrupt you. Let's go to Cindy Hsu, who's in the newsroom. She's got a further update. Cindy?
Okay, Michael, we have information from the Pentagon evacuation. General Richard Myers, Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said that prior to the crash into the Pentagon, military officials had been notified that another hijacked plane had been heading from New York area to Washington, and that's according to the AP. Also, we were talking about the State Department being evacuated, and it is because of a possible explosion or fire there. We're trying to get more information. And then locally here, we're hearing from Beekman Hospital that everyone has been called in, administrative, doctors, nurses, and that they are getting people from everywhere into that hospital. It's now called the NYU Downtown Hospital, and that's all we have here right now, Michael.
Sure, and along those lines, Cindy, every firefighter has been called in off vacation, called in off their days off to come in and help assist with this major, enormous nationwide tragedy here. So all firefighters have already supposedly been reported, have been called in, and hopefully as many firefighters as possible are helping assist with this, as in all doctors and nurses and hospital support staff.
A horrible situation all the way around, and a quick reminder for parents as there are schools in that area, in the financial district.
PS 84.
We have received word apparently that the students, though, in those schools are okay. That's what we're hearing, and we're also hearing that parents can, how they get there at this point we don't know, but can go get their children if you're able to get there. Obviously the area is still very dangerous, so we caution you against taking any unnecessary action. However, if it's your child, we certainly
understand.
Yeah, we certainly would understand. But keep in mind that what you're seeing on your screen right now is live. This is not tape at all. This is the only remaining World Trade Center tower. The other collapsing not too long ago. Both victims of plane crashes. The second, the tower rather, that has collapsed, though we are told collapsed because of a third explosion. The source of that, though, at this point we don't know. Now, let's go back to that story that you had mentioned a moment ago. There are 6 instances that we've been reporting. We have the crashes at the Trade Center, a crash at the Pentagon, a fire at the Washington Mall, and an explosion at Capitol Hill, as well as one at the State Department. And we just received late word of a suspicious plane.
Exactly. And a suspicious plane approaching an airport in Northern Virginia, trying to determine whether that's Dulles or Reagan Washington Airport. Not sure at this point. Authorities, of course, are scrambling to find out the details of that unidentified aircraft. Unbelievable scene as you look live at Chopper 2. You talked about the issue of going down and trying to get your children or your loved ones down in lower Manhattan. You have to be worried about, as one of the doctors we interviewed said, you have to be worried about smoke inhalation. That is a major concern. Already St. Vincent's Hospital getting hundreds of people. We hear anywhere from 50 to 100 people in critical condition at St. Vincent's Hospital, although it's not an official estimate tally at all, expecting hundreds, possibly thousands more.
One of the instances that we've been reporting is that explosion at the State Department. The Associated Press now reporting that it was a car bomb explosion. Now, we don't know if that means there were two explosions, one of which was a car bomb. At this point, the AP only saying that there was an explosion outside the State Department. It was a car bomb, as we continue to keep close eye on all the events happening throughout the United States today.
New York City schools, we've just been told, are in lockdown. New York City schools are in lockdown, meaning, of course, that no child is going out anywhere. They're going to be remaining safe inside their schools. No doubt they have emergency plans in place, and they are implementing them right now. We do have our CBS 2 crews on their way. We have Rose Walia out at Bellevue Hospital. We had Whitney Casey at St. Vincent's Hospital. John Slattery was one of the reporters who was right by the World Trade Center prior to number 2 tower collapsing. We are concerned about him. We haven't heard from him yet, but we understand that he and his crew took off and tried to get out of the area, as have, I'm sure,
he was over at West and Murray. And we should tell you, if you're just joining us, the FAA has shut down all aircraft takeoffs nationwide. All international flights have been diverted now to Canada as we continue to monitor the situations here in the United States. What you're looking at right now, again, live pictures as it is all developing from this morning. The first plane crash into one of the World Trade Center towers happening before 9 o'clock. It's now an hour and a half later. 18 minutes after the first impact, a second plane crashed into the second tower, and then the eventual collapse of that tower.
At 10 o'clock this morning.
Cindy Hsu in the newsroom right now with further details. Cindy?
Well, Mike and Lisa, we have more information on the schools. I know a lot of parents have to be concerned out there. Again, the New York City schools are in a lockdown, but they are told that the kids are being kept inside, although the parents are welcome to come and pick them up. They will not be released from the school until the parents come to pick them up. We also hearing that there was no explosion on Capitol Hill. You know, this is so preliminary. We get so much information that it's going to change throughout the day, and at this point they're saying no explosion on Capitol Hill. Also, as you mentioned, the international flights are now being diverted to Canada, and air traffic is being stopped everywhere else. That's really all we have right now from the newsroom. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cindy. We'll check back with you in just a moment. Of course, lower Manhattan, all the bridges and tunnels have been closed. A lot of the subways, at first we were hearing all of the subways have been closed. We're trying to get an update, especially going to lower Manhattan. Those have been closed. Obviously, it'd be difficult to try to take a subway into and out of lower Manhattan, considering all the smoke. The United Nations has been evacuated. The trading on the stock exchange has been suspended because of the bombings and the explosions. The only bridge that we heard earlier was that the outbound GW bridge was open, going out, trying to get everybody to go out. One of the concerns, of course, was that the Emergency Command Center was at 7 World Trade Center, which is across the street from Tower 1 and what was Tower 2, unfortunately, and that the Port Authority was based at the World Trade Center. President Bush did comment earlier. He called it an apparent terrorist attack, but then updated that to call it...
seemingly at this point quite certain. He pledges the government's full support, as would be obvious, for the victims and their families, as well as a full-scale investigation to hunt down those responsible. Let's go back to Cindy Hsu in the newsroom, who's joining us now with another update. Cindy?
Wait a second. Is this a live picture? This is a live picture. We are seeing the second World Trade Tower Center. World Trade Center Tower number 1 has just collapsed, ladies and gentlemen. You see it live in our picture. One World Trade Center has just collapsed. That means both World Trade Center buildings have collapsed.
If Jim Smith is with us still in Chopper 2, Jimmy, you there?
What?
Michael, we just saw that as well. The second tower, the only one that was standing, tower number 1, just we saw some kind of explosion, a lot of smoke come out at the top of the tower, and then it collapsed down onto the streets below, much like we saw the first tower just about a half hour ago.
Gosh, this is an unbelievable, it's incredible, incredulous.
Truly, as you're looking at the at what there is of the Manhattan skyline at this point.
Oh, my
the
God.
two most prominent landmarks, the World Trade Centers, now reduced to a pile of rubble and ash, smoke billowing above the city. Jim Smith, stay with us if you will. What is the evaluation and what else you're able to see from your vantage point?